Welcome. I'm Barbara Call, Senior Director of Content Strategy and Operations at IDG, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's webcast, titled Talent Pipeline Issue Hindering Digital Transformation Initiatives, and brought to you by IDG, IDC, and Udacity. I have three speakers joining me today. First up is Sean Fitzgerald, Research Director for IDC's Worldwide Digital Transformation Strategies practice, and responsible for IDC's small and medium research practice. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, Barbara. Thanks for having me today.
Also joining us is Cushing Anderson, Program Vice President, Consulting, System Integration, HR, and Learning Services at IDC, where he's responsible for managing the field research and custom research projects for IDC's IT Education and Skills for Digital Transformation Research Program. Welcome, Cushing.
Thanks, Barbara.
And our third speaker today is Jennifer Dearman, Senior Vice President, Global Customer Success and Operations at Udacity. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Barb. Nice to be here.
And now I'll hand things over to Sean to kick us off.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, before we get into the meat of today's discussion, we thought it was really important to level set on digital transformation, which is a vast and growing area of investment and focus for industry today. And it's a term, quite frankly, that's been applied to a lot of things as marketing hype. But what we see at IDC and our research in the area of digital transformation, that it really is about transforming your decision-making with technology. And that transformation is really about creating new business models that are centered around empirical-based cultures and information-enhanced products, services, and experiences. And in order to do that, you really need to invest in the right technology and platforms to enable those new business models and the application of that data, information, and insight in a very contextually appropriate way for the benefits of your customers and markets. And as you can see from our digital transformation investment research, $7.8 trillion of direct investment across hardware, software, and services is expected to occur between 2021 and 2024, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 16.4%. Put that in context, non-digital transformation investment is actually contracting about 0.1% over that same time frame. So digital transformation is a very big area of focus for companies across industries. There's a lot of investment being made, and you might ask yourself, well, why is this all happening? And it's very simple, because we also know that not only large, vast sums of investment dollars are being allocated, our own research shows that there's a definite benefit to digitally transforming and doing it successfully. And as you can see, companies that are successful in their digital transformation experience approximately twice the level of revenue and about twice the level of profit, operating profit, that companies that have not focused on digital transformation or are struggling with digital transformation. You know, it's an interesting contrast to see the success of those investments when it's done well. And we've been researching this area for approximately the last 5 years as a formal practice. And there's three main things that we see coming out of successful transformations in terms of ingredients for success, if you will. And they're very much about a single business strategy for digital that spans the enterprise, about having a formal roadmap that's prioritized to take that strategy as the executive concept into a set of repeatable, scalable operating capabilities, and that you're doing it in a way that it's built on a fully integrated enterprise technology architecture. And with all that investment, less than 4% of companies have actually fully transformed themselves, with another 14, almost 15% of companies are well on their way. But the implications are there's still the vast majority of the market in terms of companies that are trying to transform that, quite frankly, are still struggling to find their success in it. And digging a little bit more into the notion of strategy and why it's important to have an enterprise strategy, as you can see here, we really see two groups have emerged, those that we call the digitally determined and the other group that we call the digitally distraught. Digitally determined organizations are one, again, that have that integrated strategy for digital that mirrors the business strategy, or what we like to say is digital is the business strategy, meaning they really are these breakthrough new business model type of entities that are really going to disrupt their markets. In contrast, we see companies that really struggle with digital because, again, it's large, complex, enterprise-wide, that they either behave too short-term in their execution versus their strategy, or in the case of the two organization types on the left, they're doing it ad hoc. So they're probably getting some incremental benefit, but they're not getting that breakthrough transformational performance that we saw where you could double your revenue and operating profits like those companies that have really embraced a successful enterprise-wide transformation undertaking, if you will. And we also see that you can't solve for digital transformation or make it all happen simultaneously. So again, we see companies that have that roadmap. They break down their strategic priorities into programs that are addressable with project-based efforts that all align to achieving on what is their digital strategic aspiration over time. And not just having those use cases or projects, but knowing what do I need to do today in Horizon 1 that lays the foundation of my digital transformation success over time. So often we'll see companies in Horizon 1 are doing things, what we would call digitization, upgrading their technology platform, creating those organizational constructs for an office of digital transformation so that they can educate and help, raise the awareness of digital transformation across the organization and what different functions or groups are going to participate in. And then building on those foundational Horizon 1 investments, how do I extend my digital transformation capabilities in Horizon 2? And then ultimately, what do I want to think about longer term across Horizon 3? And that platform, what is a digital platform? So as you can see here, this is IDC's architectural reference model, and it's very much centered around an intelligent core that can extend out through customer-facing external processes, as well as back into the organization and into the extended supply chain with your partners as well. But the key things to think about and understand when looking at a digital platform as part of your digital transformation undertakings is that it's very much a cloud-based API strategy. It uses an agile application architecture. And it's really about that new customer experience that's informed and contextualized from the insights that come out of the intelligent core. And that intelligent core is based on leveraging third platform and innovation accelerator technologies such as cognitive, artificial intelligence, and machine learning capabilities. Now, the implications for this transformation is everybody thinks it's very much a technology-centric undertaking. But like all successful change management initiatives that span the enterprise and that are foundational, it really is about addressing people, process, technology. And then in digital, I would add, you need to have data and governance. And the reason for that is transformation is very complex. So without an effective governance model, you're not going to be able to sustain and improve your digital capabilities over time. And I will tell you, the most important transformations and the most successful ones really focus on a people-first approach, because while there's automation that will occur through technology, the value of digital really comes from smart people that are capable, have the skills, and are organized to execute on those digital transformation initiatives. And furthermore, our research shows, where companies are struggling for the most part with their transformation over the next 18 to 24 months, both overall on the left and then between those two groups of the digitally determined and digitally distraught to the right, is very much around this tactical planning, silos of innovation where things are happening in parts of the organization but not universally across the other parts. Initiatives, again, are very siloed or stuck in their own little place and not extending across the organization. Companies are struggling to measure the right things with their KPIs. And then what's interesting is that lack of limited digital transformation expertise and capabilities as an explicit category. But I would make the position that all of these challenges that are listed here are solvable through training, education, and engagement of your workforce, which easily overcomes a lot of these things that we're seeing evidenced as challenges. And so what does this mean for the financial services? It's really about transforming to create that connected banking experience for your customers and markets. And it's really centered around four main strategic priorities of Omni experience: customer engagement, the ability to leverage the technologies to create those next generation payment capabilities, whether that's contactless or some of the other things that go on behind the scene in terms of digital settlement versus traditional ways of banking, getting into basically improving your digital lending, right, by helping you understand and be better informed about the risk profiles of particular lending arrangements. And then ultimately for corporate banking, it really is about creating better connectivity, really helping with business model innovation based on the demands of these companies that span geographies, countries, and regions of the world, depending on the types of financial support they require. So digital transformation in this particular arena is very much centered on the customer, but it's very much enabled by the technology and information at the core of financial services is of paramount importance if you want to not only be competitive and successful, but also differentiate yourself with your customers. And so again, looking across what does that mean, for that roadmap of taking that connected banking through the various digital capabilities that you want to deploy. So here's just some examples of what we typically see in that near-term horizon: one for transformation, unified payments, digital wallet, et cetera, and then extending into that second horizon of transformation about the conditional supply chain payments. So you have the contextualization of were terms met before you do settlement, and then looking out into horizon 3 as you've built out those digital capabilities in the near term and midterm is looking at more advanced concepts where you could have treasury as a service or intelligent business operations that link back into your financial status, et cetera. But with that, I think it really comes down to being able to empower your workforce, and you empower your workforce by training them and engaging them in these digital transformation efforts. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Cushing Anderson, who can talk more about the value of training and doing it successfully.
Thanks very much, Sean. So as Sean mentioned, I focus on skills and development of skills and the impact that organizations can get through better training programs. And one of the things I'd like to do for my small section here is to describe some examples of what we've seen, the impact that training can have on cloud and cloud adoption as an illustration of part of the digital transformation journey. So imagine that any of the initiatives that Sean's described, either at the big level, require kind of a progress of capabilities and building, as he described, through the multiple horizons. There's going to be a progress and a multi-stage flow of how you move from a lesser stage of development all the way through to a greater stage. So I'm using cloud as an illustration of that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how comprehensive training can assist in creating a smoother transition and a more rapid movement from a lower state of digital transformation to a more advanced state. So in this case, I wanted to start by just orienting you on a cloud adoption model. We've envisioned this as being that cloud adoption has about 7 steps, and organizations pass from one step, one degree of adoption to the next, and only rarely retreat to an earlier stage or skip a stage altogether. These 7 stages, you can see from the left, start with no interest in cloud computing, to educating themselves, to evaluating different approaches, creating some firm plans, using cloud for 1 or 2 workloads, all the way through to the 7th step, which is a cloud-first model using cloud for nearly all workloads. And it doesn't matter, we happen to be talking about cloud, but it doesn't matter whether we're doing some of the illustrative examples that Sean has already mentioned, or we're talking about cloud, or it could be some other digital technology. Most of these have these kinds of stepwise approach where you're passing from no interest through some interest through pilots through a fully adopted, fully laid out engagement. So this is a good example of how you might progress through any significant technology or digital transformation process. But we've seen that organizations can progress through these stages more quickly when they're better trained. And that's the type of discussion that I'm going to have here. In research we conducted, we asked about 500 organizations and the cloud managers and their IT leaders in North America, Europe, and Asia. And all of the leading cloud services providers were represented in this group, including AWS and Google and HPE and IBM, Microsoft, and others. We conducted in-depth interviews with the US and IT leaders who have implemented cloud to understand their experiences and get some of their recommendations. Our research shows that about 65% of organizations are using cloud for one or more workloads. And that's kind of in this stages 5, 6, or 7. And only about 5% of organizations have really no interest in cloud computing, and that's stage 1. But no matter where an organization is in their current journey, most expect to leverage cloud services to support even more workloads in the future. In fact, about 70% of organizations expect to expand their use of cloud over 2 years. And so it doesn't matter whether you're early in a digital transformation journey or you're late and mature, everyone's trying to do a little bit more. But the investment in training seems to impact how quickly organizations are able to adopt the cloud in this case. Comprehensive training tends to enable organizations to move more quickly through the stages of cloud adoption. Over the next 24 months, organizations that are only minimally trained on cloud will typically lag behind more comprehensively trained organizations in how much they expand their use of cloud. So comprehensively trained organizations are 81% more likely to move up a cloud adoption stage in the next 24 months. But the impact also mattered depending on where the stage in the adoption they were. Let's first talk about what I mean by comprehensive training. Comprehensive training is similar to the way Sean described it earlier. That he described that there were process, technologies, governance, data, and talent all kind of melded together to make a good adoption plan. Well, we think of the same sort of thing, but we look at comprehensive training as being not only the topics of training, things like the technologies or the platforms you're doing, the methodologies or processes that are being changed or being introduced, organizational objectives, what we're trying to get out of this new process or technology, and then the potential uses for that technology or new business strategies. Not only is it that kind of content, but comprehensive training also considers who's getting trained, the targets of training, whether it's individual team members or the IT organization or non-IT employees and teams who need to understand things, or groups of related teams. Comprehensive training mixes all of these things together, that every kind of organization, every type of group that might need some sort of training on this new concept or these new technologies gets the training that's appropriate to them. And it's not just the IT organization that needs training, but it is the line of business folks and business leaders in general who need not the same technical level of detail, but they need to understand the potential of these technologies, the intent, the business goals, the new business models. They need to understand how they're going to be able to use these tools, what other organizations have done with these tools. And those things make the organization more likely to adopt these changes in technology. So once an organization has kind of rolled out this comprehensive training, and we can talk a little bit more about what that means too, but once we've rolled out this training, organizations will see greater impact and more rapid transition through these various stages. It primarily reflects itself and manifests itself in an increased adoption between those that are comprehensively trained organizations and those that are not. It seems that by our research, 100% of those organizations that comprehensively trained all those targets with those various and related content areas on the left, they 100% will move that are currently in stage 2, educating themselves, are likely to move to stage 3 and have firm plans to implement cloud within 2 years, compared to just 25% who are minimally trained. But we'll also see that they're 4 times more likely to move from stage 2 to stage 4. Isn't that cool? That they'll have a much greater chance of accelerating through those stages. We also found that 67% of the comprehensively trained organizations that are currently in stage 3 we expect to move to stage 5, that using that cloud for one or more workloads within 2 years, compared to just 11% of those minimally trained organizations. That's 6 times more likely. And 85% of those comprehensively trained organizations that are currently at stage 5 using cloud for one or more workloads. And they expect to move to stage 6 using cloud, or 7 using it for nearly everything. And that compares to only about 45% of those minimally trained organizations. So it's twice as likely. So what you're seeing, it doesn't matter where on these stages you are, the more the organization has trained not only its technical people, but its business folks, the more rapid they move through these stages. And that turns into, as you can imagine, real business benefit for the organization. So when we did this work, we found that organizations who are more comprehensively trained in each of these 3 graphics, you'll see that the comprehensively trained organizations are on the left compared to the more limited training on the right. We found that comprehensive training improves an organization's ability to achieve both those internal objectives. Comprehensively trained organizations are more productive, left-hand one. Comprehensively trained organizations are 4.7 times more likely to say that cloud improved their staff productivity. They are also better problem solvers. Comprehensively trained organizations are 3.5 times more likely to say that their teams can develop new solutions. And they're also more efficient. They save money. Comprehensively trained organizations are 4 times more likely to think that cloud can help optimize IT spending. So they've all done these different things, but there's greater productivity, there's greater problem solving, and there's greater money savings when the organization is better trained. So if you're trying to get the most out of your digital transformation program, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about cloud or anything else, it seems that training the IT staff on how to leverage the technology and training the line of business and others on what the technology can do will increase the value that you can get from your initiative and will speed up your transformation. So I'm going to turn this now over to Jennifer and have her describe what examples that she's got through Udacity's training programs. Jennifer?
Thanks so much, Cushing. I love the benefit of a people-first mindset that Sean talked about and the comprehensive training approach that you shared as well. What we see and hear from our customers is that there is a significant talent gap, specifically in advanced skills like data science, machine learning, and AI. And as digital transformation accelerates, like you're talking about, the talent to drive it won't be there. And so upskilling is not only more cost-effective than hiring. Studies show 94% of employees will stay longer at their jobs as well if their employer is investing in training and development. So investing in learning benefits everyone. So financial services companies are losing market share and talent to challenger banks and tech companies. And their back-end legacy systems are also incompatible with modern cloud technology. Digital disruption is reshaping the financial services landscape, and the resulting digital transformation requires significant investment in people, processes, and technology. Attracting, upskilling, and keeping the right talent to execute a digital transformation strategy of this scale is crucial. And so one of our global 500 financial services customers with thousands of employees and billions of dollars in assets under management was facing this challenge. They needed to solve for digital skills gaps across the company, improve competency related to data and data science, and empower and create opportunities for employees to develop new skills. Essentially, their goal was to become a technology company with a banking license. So they partnered with Udacity on business goals that are essential to their transformation journey, including implementing a digital banking strategy. And the results are amazing. The program saved over $2 million by upskilling their existing workforce instead of hiring new talent. 100% of the participants graduated from the Nano Degree program. completing projects in AI programming with Python and data science, and unlocked new tasks, roles, responsibilities, and job titles in customer strategy, all led by data-driven insights. And I think that this quote really says it all. Our comprehensive education model, using real use cases from the business, built the skills necessary to transform this Global 500 financial services company. And just to underscore the point further, there are other legacy industries like oil and gas that have gone through massive market disruption, like a number of leading oil and gas companies that have tapped AI to improve operations and reduce costs. Shell found itself with insufficiently skilled resources to work on their projects. So Udacity worked with Shell on an initiative to bridge the AI gap, scale their corporate AI strategy, and increase overall workforce productivity. Shell has a strategy to embed AI across its operations, a move that has helped the oil giant lower costs and avoid downtime. And as a result, Shell has built a data science center of excellence, which is responsible for a series of innovative programs across the organization. And they actively celebrate their AI projects and team successes, which contributes to retaining and attracting digital talent. So I'll close by reiterating, waiting to upskill your workforce or expecting the talent to be there when you want it is a mistake. The companies that emerge with the skills to accelerate digital transformation will win. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Barbara.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. So we have some questions I'd like to pose to our speakers. Jennifer, I'll start with you on this one. What are some of the skill sets that will be required in the future?
Oh, great question. Udacity's mission is to train the global workforce in the careers of the future, and the future is now. We see data science and AI growing in importance as companies look to accelerate their digital transformation strategies to reduce costs, increase revenue, and mitigate risk. So we are constantly evolving our nano-degree course content to ensure we are providing cutting-edge training as technology advances.
Thanks, Jennifer. Sean, what are your thoughts here?
Well, this is a great question. And echoing what Jennifer just articulated, we know from our own Spend Guide research that big data analytics and artificial intelligence is represented as a key enabling technology for digital transformation success in over 90% of the use cases or projects that we've identified and researched around. So very important that you're not just investing in the technologies, but you're investing in the talent and the training and the skills competency in order to leverage and get the most value out of those technologies.
Okay, thanks. So our next question is, how do you ensure staff are offered the right courses for their level? Jennifer, let's start with you here.
Okay, great, thanks. So this is an important question because our learning paths align nicely to the stages of adoption that Cushing talked about. We structure our nano degrees following a comprehensive training approach and in a way that enables learners of all levels to be successful and learn and grow at their own pace. And we have a prescriptive approach to ensure we match learners with the appropriate course level, starting with a pre-assessment. This assessment helps us determine where learners should begin in a specific learning path so that we know they're on the right track.
Excellent. Okay. Cushing, any thoughts you'd like to add?
Yes, I think in addition to the prescriptive approach, one thing that organizations, a technique that we've seen work very, very effectively, is that organizations, to the extent they can, should open up their technical training and this kind of curricula to as wide an audience in their organization as possible. That provides people that you might not have thought would need a particular kind of training to self-select into training programs around analytics or visualization or application development. And you will begin to see individuals move from areas of lower interest for them, certainly, into areas that might be of greater interest or importance to the organization going forward. The bank, the technology company that also has a banking license. So allowing people to move from where they are in their career into something that's more dynamic or more interesting. So I would encourage all organizations to open up these kinds of courses as widely as possible and allow people to self-select in or to kind of do a little bit of pull learning and you'll find that you'll motivate some individuals to move out of areas and into more dynamic areas of the organization. So in addition to assigning, allow for some pull learning.
Okay, thank you, Cushing. So one last question for Jennifer. Tell us what makes Udacity different from the other online learning platforms?
Oh, another great question. There are a number of things like content quality and completeness that we're really proud of. But looking beyond that, I think we've all probably taken an online class that was a series of videos with a multiple choice question or test at the end. We call that lean back learning. And we believe the best way to learn is by doing, especially when learning deeply technical skills. So within each course of our nano degrees, we have hands-on projects built in, and learners are required to pass the project to pass the course and move on to the next course within the nano degree. Now, the beauty of this is every time a learner passes a project, they have acquired job-ready skills that can be applied immediately. And to assist our learners with their projects, we have a global network of mentors to provide feedback and answer questions along the way. So with Udacity, you get real employable skills using project-based active learning at your own pace with the help you need when you need it.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my speakers, Sean Fitzgerald of IDC, Cushing Anderson of IDC, and Jennifer Dearman of Udacity. And thanks to you, our audience, for joining us. For additional information on this topic, please visit the resources section on your screen. For IDG, IDC, and Udacity, I'm Barbara Call.